I'm Tina Nance, and the other people in my group are Audra, Eric, and Nicole. And this is our film project, and we watched the movie Sleepers. It has some pretty good actors in it: Brad Pitt, Robert De Niro, Kevin Bacon, and some other guys. It's pretty much about these four young men who are arrested for a childhood prank, and they are severely tortured and abused by the security guards at the detention facility. And one of the main security guards is Kevin Bacon. And years down the road, I think 15 years down the road, the boys are grown up, they go their separate ways, and two of the boys get together and find Kevin Bacon, which is the security guard, and kill him. And they all go to trial, and it's about the boys helping each other and trying to get back at the system and kind of move on and recover from everything. So it's a lot of psychological issues. The theorist that I chose was Erikson. I'm going to focus on two main theories. First one is identity versus role confusion, which happens in the teen years. And I chose to do Brad Pitt's character, who they call him Mikey in the film. He actually chose to be the lawyer defending the security guard, Kevin Bacon, and at the same time he's also helping the boys without the court knowing that. Identity versus role confusion talks about identity crisis, having issues with knowing who you are, who you're becoming. I think this has a lot to do with his drive to become a lawyer. He wasn't able to experience childhood and regular teen things because he was abused and severely, psychologically ruined from his time in juvie. And so it's really just about him becoming a lawyer and kind of getting back at the system and finding who he wanted to become through that. Second is generativity versus stagnation, which is kind of giving something back to the world, kind of fulfilling your lifelong whatever. And with that, I think this is huge because he chose to be a lawyer and chose to help his friends not go to prison for killing the security guard. So he's kind of giving back to his friends, but also kind of getting back at the system for what was done to them as children. So that's basically the character Mikey and Erikson as generativity versus stagnation and identity versus role confusion.
My name is Eric, and I did Carl Jung in relation to the movie Sleepers. My character's name was Shakes, and he was also one of the boys who was impacted by the not so friendly happenings at the juvie. And he was a very religious person, which Carl Jung emphasized as a way to overcome some of your past experiences, kind of like a Freud's coping mechanism. Also, Freud was big on archetypes, and along with archetypes is the collective unconscious that kind of everybody shares, and it's manifested through these archetypes. And Shakes illustrated a bunch of the archetypes: the hero archetype, the shadow archetype, and a new various others that came out through the movie. Also, Jung talked about dreams. He described them as communication or data communication from the paranormal world. And as Shakes was praying one day, he was having flashbacks, and I feel that he was, through Jung's interpretation of dreams, that he was being justified in what he was doing, getting two murderers off because of the occurrences that happened to all of them at childhood.
I'm Nicole. I did Karen Horney. All the four boys had basic anxiety from the guards, who basically their guardians for a large portion of their life when they were in juvie. Mike, I think, went into a withdrawn style because of this experience. He put his energy into other things, becoming a lawyer, and he kept the issues from his childhood very secret. He never told people about them. In the end, he even ended up isolating himself, never marrying, kind of moving far away. Tommy and John went into an aggressive style. They fought back, basically became like gangsters, and led a bad life. They had aggressive style. And then Shakes had a passive style, kind of put things aside, didn't really deal with them that much until the end. He came out and kind of was aggressive behind the scenes with it. And then another thing I wanted to look at was her ideal self. That's basically what she describes as the tyranny of the should. Father Bobby was the priest in the home they grew up in, and they came to him and wanted him to testify and say that Tommy and John were with him the night of the murder, even though they weren't. His ideal self would testify and save these boys because he knows what they went through and really feels for them, but at the same time he's a priest and he's conflicted, doesn't want to testify and lie on the Bible, but ends up becoming his ideal self in that situation and testifying for them and getting them off the hook.
I'm Audra. My theorist was Freud, and I, through his theory, looked at the characters of two of the security guards. The first was Stokes. He was the man that was murdered. He would taunt the kids using their Catholic beliefs and would make them recite prayers while sexually and physically abusing them. And in the presence of other security guards, he would abuse them. And I think that he had a focus on sexual drives and a need for control. And he definitely used the defense mechanism of displacement by taking all of his frustration and anger and pent-up drives and putting them on the boys that he was paid to look after. Another security guard was the one that testified in court. His name was Snyder. He abused the children alongside Stokes, but I think that he would use the defense mechanism of denial to himself and kind of just denied the whole situation. He used repression by still considering Stokes a good friend and a good man, and I think he just put aside all of the things that they did to the boys and just considered them to be good men. But while on trial, he ended up breaking down, and I think that that comes from his pathological guilt of what he and Stokes and the other security guards had done to the boys, and eventually testified to having abused the boys while on duty. He uses the defense mechanism of rationalization by saying that the reason why they did all this was that they were drinking, but deep down inside, he definitely, you could tell he knew otherwise, and so he ends up just completely breaking down based on his guilt. And I think that Freud would say that, you know, based on the unconscious, it was all eating him up inside. So, and that's our group.
Whoop whoop!